In the world of the Tower of God, people are summoned to climb a tower that promises to fulfill their deepest wishes, whether it be wealth, power, or a love life, something you couldn't relate to. At the top of the tower, everything one could desire awaits, and the winner can even become a god. This story follows Rachel, a girl who wants to see the stars, and Bam, a useless boy who is basically her pet that needs nothing but her. Before vanishing into flowers, Rachel tells Bam that she is climbing the tower, telling him to forget her as she starts glowing and disappears from his grasp. As Bam is left alone, thinking about Rachel, he is suddenly summoned to the tower as well. He opens his eyes to find himself on the ground, greeted by a voice welcoming him. A shadowy figure named Head-On appears and introduces himself as the caretaker of the tower. Bam asks about Rachel, but Head-On only smirks and tells him the answer lies at the top. Head-On asks if Bam will take the test to climb the tower, and a huge cage with a white steel eel appears. Head-On explains that he must break the black ball in the middle of the cage while avoiding the eel to pass the test. He warns Bam of the tower's dangers, but Bam, not caring because he's basically useless like yourself, immediately runs towards the cage. Suddenly, a lady knocks the breezy out of Bam in the face and speaks a different language, asking if Bam is a moron. A white-haired man appears, yelling at the lady, Yuri, to wait for him. He takes out a glowing white ball from his bag, which translates their language for Bam. The man explains that the ball is a pocket, a translator and lifeline in the tower. Yuri calls Bam a non-regular, someone not chosen by the tower, and Head-On addresses her as the Princess of Jahad. Head-On warns Yuri that helping a non-regular could get her executed. Yuri argues that it's unfair for Bam to face the white steel eel, which even scares people from the 20th floor. Which the 20th floor will make more sense later on, but for right now you'll be fine. Evan, the white-haired man, agrees that Bam is weak and will perish. Ignoring everyone, Bam steps forward. Yuri tells him to reconsider, but Head-On suggests she lend Bam the Black March, a legendary sword of Jahad. The Black March can be either useless or incredibly powerful, depending on the wielder. Evan tries to stop Yuri, fearing her execution if she hands over the sword. Despite this, Yuri gives Bam the Black March. Bam hesitates but takes it and enters the cage, resulting in the white steel eel to charge at Bam. Yuri wants to help, but Head-On stops her, saying Bam will fail if she interferes. The eel swallows Bam, thinking it was all over for him, but moments later, it leaks from its mouth and spits Bam out, injured from inside. Fearless, Bam stabs the black ball. Head-On then announces that the test hasn't even started. Bam recalls his past, meeting Rachel for the first time. He continues smashing the black ball as the white steel eel approaches. Evan yells for Bam to ask the Black March for strength. When Bam does, the sword's spirit appears, knocking down the eel. The spirit asks if Bam wants the strength to climb the tower, but Bam says he just wants to see Rachel. The black ball breaks, and Bam ascends to the next floor. Although, Yuri is a bit dumbfounded considering the sword spirit would never work for her, but works for a man. Deciding to follow Bam and get the sword back, Yuri leaves. Head-On destroys the white steel eel with a wave of his staff. Bam wakes up in a field, where a gray speaker in the sky addresses the regulars about the second floor's test. There are 400 regulars, and the number will be halved in the allotted time. As Bam crawls, a huge warrior appears and is about to eliminate him when an arrow pierces the warrior. A chain of disposing begins, from the archer to a sniper, then to ogres and cyclopses. A crocodile-headed monster looks for prey and senses something. He sees a lizard girl with a formidable presence, who then notices Bam with the black sword. Bam points his sword at a monster in front of a cyclops when a blue-haired guy with a briefcase appears. The crocodile monster joins the group, and they all gaze at each other with eliminating intent. Back to a flashback with this disgusting girl, Rachel was teaching the useless Bam how to write their names. Bam remembered a moment from the past when Rachel asked what he would do if someone hurt her. He said he would fight them, and Rachel patted him on the head with a smile. This sounds like some edgy high school couple you'll see in the hallways. Suddenly, a gator-like monster confronted Bam, calling him Black Turtle and demanding he surrender. A blue-haired guy put his hand on Bam's shoulder, wondering how much the talking alligator would be worth, mistakenly thinking Rak was Bam's pet. The gator monster, offended, introduced himself as Rak Wraithrazor. He declared his intention to hunt Bam. The blue-haired guy sighed at Rak's motivation to become stronger. Rak attacked the blue-haired guy, but he easily weaved and left to see other regulars climbing the tower. However, he was curious about Bam, who had a legendary sword and shaking hands. He took Bam with him, knocking down Rak. Rak chased them as they hid behind a mild-mannered cyclops. The blue-haired guy introduced himself as Kun. His tone changed when he saw Bam's sword, the Black March, a legendary weapon granted only to princesses. Meanwhile, Yuri was bullying Evan, telling him to take her to the newbie. Bam told Kun the truth about his intentions to join the tower, and Kun started wondering if Bam was someone special. Kun set off in a different direction, and Bam followed him. They came across a lizard girl and a katana user guy fighting intensely. While waiting for the count to go down, Kun asked Bam if he had ever got rid anyone. Bam replied that he probably hadn't in his current life because he didn't remember his past. Only Rachel's dumb teachings filled his mind. Kun shook hands with Bam, forming an alliance. He was curious about what made Bam so special that a princess of Jahad handed him her sword. As they talked, Rak appeared and attacked Kun. Just then, the square speaker announced the end of the test. The second test began suddenly, requiring candidates to find 2 allies. As long as all 3 teammates were touching when the count ended, they would pass. Kun and Bam had no choice but to take Rak. Well, more like fighting for their lives to stay on to him. The lizard girl and the samurai boy introduced themselves as Anak in hats. Rak yelled at Bam to fight him, but Kun told his ugly ass to not make a fuss because if Bam revealed his weapon, everyone would jump him, mentioning that if he helped make Bam stronger, it would be easier for them. Kun took out a chocolate bar, which Rak liked and asked for more. 2 regulars started making a scene, and test administrator Liro appeared, telling them not to fight against the rules. Bam was amazed by Liro, and Kun explained that Liro was a ranker, someone who had climbed to the top of the tower where King Jahad resided. Suddenly, Liro created a huge wave of water, forming a barrier. Any team that passed through without succumbing to the Shinsu's test would continue climbing the tower, everyone else would fail. If one team member failed, the whole team would fail. Kun was worried about Bam, since his powers seem a bit ordinary, but was shocked when Bam wasn't on their side of the wall. The wall didn't push Bam back, but Bam, thinking he failed, attempted to go through the wall, but the ranker tells Bam he has passed. However, the ranker words were, "A monster has been born." Other candidates continued to struggle while Liro asked Bam to make a bet to pass the time. If Bam won, Liro would answer any question Bam asked. If Liro won, Bam would have to answer his question, and both picked Anak. Anak and hats passed through the wall easily. Liro still asked Bam his question since they tied, since tying with a ranker is quite an achievement. Bam asked about Rachel, describing her, but got disappointed when Liro's answer was that he never heard of her. Bam then asked about irregulars, and Liro explained they are the ones who don't follow the tower's rules. The tower is divided into 3 sections: the outer tower residential district, the inner tower where they currently were, climbable only by regular, and the middle area connecting the 2. Some are chosen by head-on and granted permission to enter the inner tower. Those who enter without being chosen by head-on are irregular. Suddenly, a useless regular started making a fuss about the test, yelling at Liro. Liro raised Shinsu's level to teach him a lesson and then returned to his place while others continued to struggle. Rak and Kun also entered the Shinsu and passed easily, but Kun's briefcase got stuck for a moment. Before leaving, Liro warned Bam not to get too close to Kun. The third test would begin in a few moments. Kunagro's sister was not chosen as the princess of Jahad, which led to their family's exile and dismantling. Agro remembered his mother's advice to trust only himself. Bam noticed Kun gazing at the ceiling and shook him out of his daydreams. Kun told Bam he was looking at the sky, which shocked Bam since he had never seen it. Rak laughed at Bam for not knowing the most common thing. Bam asked Kun about stars. Kun explained that the sky they saw was a mere imitation created using Shinsu, modeled after a legend. Bam mentioned that Rachel wanted to see stars, which was why she came to the tower, and he wanted to find Rachel. Kun stood up, wondering why Rachel left him and climbed the tower and why she took care of him for so long. The third test was ongoing, with teams entering a secret room one at a time. Everyone heard death cries, and the teams never returned, and Kun wondered what was happening inside. Suddenly, a strange pink-faced guy approached Bam and Kun, trying to give them a hint. Kun tried to shake him off, not wanting to buy into the nonsense. But when the pink-faced guy explained his theory, Kun started thinking about it. The pink-faced guy told them that those who didn't scream for more than 5 minutes passed the test. Bam thanked the pink guy, but Kun warned Bam not to thank him, as he was trying to use them to test his theory. The pink guy started bad-mouthing Kun for being the abandoned and betrayed son of the Kun family. Without a second thought, Kun took out his dagger and pinned the pink guy down, then withdrew his dagger and told him to leave. The next team was Bam, Kun, and Rak. As they entered the room, they were greeted by the test director, Han-Sun Yu. There were multiple doors, and to pass, they had to open the correct one with only one chance and a 10-minute time limit. Kun wanted more clues, but Yu had already given all the clues. The test began with Rak stomping the ground while Kun tried to concentrate and organize the information he had. There were 12 doors, and Rak started crawling around while Yu calmly made his coffee. Yu thought someone who used his head had arrived, but the test couldn't be passed just with brains. Kun remembered the pink guy's advice, but his mother's advice stopped him. Suddenly, Maria appeared behind Kun, causing him to panic. Kun realized something just as Rak kicked a door, which turned out to be the correct one. Rak had decided based on his instincts. The condition was to open a door within 5 minutes, with no restrictions on whether it was correct or wrong. They just had to open any door. Rak entered the door while Kun questioned you about what the test measured. You explained that the test was to make them realize that the world wouldn't wait for them and that they needed companions to open doors without hesitation. Bam and Kun also entered the door, and many teams passed after them, and the pink guy had been sent by you himself. Bam tried to ask Kun about his past, but Kun declined, saying it's no reason he needs to know. The next batch of regulars had real monsters, and only 3 passed. The administrator decided to take the first, second, and third tests united. If this test was leaked, you and Quant would be executed. So basically you needed to trick the 3 who has already passed. Bam went to buy something to drink for Rak but didn't know how to use the vending machines, so Shibisu helped him. Shibisu introduced himself and his team, telling Bam he was lucky and motivating him. Lero appeared behind them, informing them about a bonus test. Participation was voluntary, and a team that won this test would be considered to have passed all tests. Everyone smirked and decided to participate. The game they would be playing was the crown game, which involved stealing a crown from each other with a time limit of 5 minutes. 5 teams would participate at once, and the game consisted of 5 rounds. The person who got the crown had to wear it and sit on a throne until the game ended. If they defended till the end, they passed. 4 teams would be disqualified, and 4 new teams would enter for the second round. The game ended if the person with the crown left the chair. In that case, everyone would lose, and 5 new teams would enter. There was a twist: a single team would also be participating from another ground. Shibisu's team entered first, followed by the second team. Rak couldn't enter since the participation of the first team had ended. Anok destroyed the first team, shocking the other participants with her strength. Suddenly, Bam saw Rachel among the new team. Bam started yelling Rachel's name but was completely ignored like your love life, thinking it couldn't be her. As the announcement for the next challenger was ongoing, Shibisu wanted to sit on the throne, telling Anok to step down and defend the crown. However, Anok couldn't step down or they would lose. Rak wanted to press the buzzer to enter, but Kun stopped him, offering him 10 chocolates as compensation. 2 teams entered the arena next. Hats was fighting 3 opponents at once, switching to 2 swords to get serious. Shibisu somehow managed to hold off the second team with his martial arts skills. He was curious about their third teammate, who had been sleeping since the first test. Shibisu was about to be knocked down when Hats jumped in to save him. Hats asked about their last teammate, who was still sleeping. It had been their sleeping member Loro's idea to join first. Loro knew that in this game, the team sitting on the throne was at a disadvantage until at least the second or third round. As the game progressed, the number of participants increased. No matter how much they fought, other teams would interfere with the team sitting on the throne. In the worst case scenario, the crown could be stolen right under their noses. Loro had planned everything. He wanted his team to take Hats and Shibisu away from the throne and leave the rest to him. Suddenly, Loro opened his eyes and used Shinsu. Loro, a wave controller, made Anok leave the throne while dodging her attacks. Kun was confused, realizing someone who could use Shinsu was hiding among them. Anok, furious, took out her weapon and started attacking Loro, but he dodged effortlessly. Anok's weapon split like an octopus, attacking everyone. Loro was disappointed by Anok Jahad's emotions. The Black March started acting strange, shaking uncontrollably. The Black March unleashed itself, and Anok sensed its presence, stopping her rampage. Loro's teammates, Serena and Ho, took him and went back to the waiting room, getting disqualified. Bam tried to control the Black March when Anok broke into their cell, asking Bam why he had the Black March. Anok wanted Bam to hand it over. The Black March was one of the 13-month series, forged by master craftsman Ashil Edwaru. Anok's weapon was Green April, another from the 13-month series, which she is a useless princess of Jahad. Bam refused to hand over the Black March, explaining that he borrowed it from Yuri and would return it. As Anok was about to attack them, Lero jumped in to stop her. Anok proposed a bet for Green April and Black March. Lero was interested in the proposal. As long as the crown game continued, Lero had no problem with it. Anok told Bam if his team survived until the end of the crown game, she would give Green April to Bam. If he lost, she would take the Black March. Even if Bam didn't play, at the end of the game, she intended to eliminate him and take the Black March by force. So either way, Bam was kinda screwed. He thought for a while when Anok started mocking him. Kun and Rak jumped in to defend Bam and decided to accept the bet. Anok was furious at a girl from the secret team mocking her. She was about to rush when Hat stopped her from causing more trouble, and 4 teams has entered the arena. 3 members from different teams rushed to take the crown, but Kun had already taken it using his wind attack. Kun placed the crown in his bag and called everyone to attack him and get the crown. Everyone started attacking Kun, but he kept absorbing and deflecting attacks using his magical bag. Kun threw the crown on the ground, causing every team to start fighting among themselves. The crown Kun threw was a decoy. He had made Bam sit on the throne and showed the real crown to them. Meanwhile, the hidden team was getting ready to eliminate everyone. Kun fooled everyone by creating a fake crown, and it was smart to let Bam sit on the throne. However, Kun knew they couldn't defend Bam from everyone attacking at once, so he needed to distract the other teams until Bam could secure his place. Kun turned his bag upside down, pouring out countless fake crowns that started fading away in the air. The enemies, furious, decided to eliminate Kun together. They charged towards him, but Kun, calmly sitting on the throne with Bam, wasn't worried. Rak jumped in, wiping out every team with a single attack. The third round ended, and participants were being accepted for the fourth round. The secret team decided not to enter the game this round. Kun was ready to defend the throne while Rak feasted on chocolate bars, asking Kun about his bag. Kun didn't plan to reveal himself but had to show Anak something. The fourth round began with only 3 teams. Rak was eager to take on the other teams, but Kun told him to take a break and lie on the throne because their strongest opponent would come in the final round. One team suggested forming an alliance to take down the current throne holder, but Kun didn't flinch and told Bam to wait and watch. The team started fighting among themselves. Kun had prepared for this from the first test. The team that attacked the other team first was on Kun's side. During the first test, Kun gathered allies inside his bag and helped regulars pass the test. The team with Bam and Rak was unexpected. The 3 guys inside Kun's bag were enough for a team. The test administrator noticed, and Kun took them out during the break after the third test. He explained the situation to them and signaled them when it was time to help. As Rak and Kun waited for the strongest opponent, the 5th round began with Rak knocking down an enemy. A black-haired woman with multiple eyes also knocked down many enemies with her staff before jumping to take on Rak. She was about to knock Bam off the throne when one of the secret team members attacked her. Kun let his guard down, and a swordsman from a different team attacked him. Another calm girl stood beside the throne, telling Bam not to worry since they wouldn't steal the crown. Bam recognized her voice as Rachel's. He called her name, but she didn't respond. Bam was about to stand up when the 3rd member of the secret team, a giant, stood in front of him, stopping him. Rak was confused why the enemies were helping them. Kun could only say that the enemy team helping them wasn't interested in the crown. Kun took down his enemy. Only 30 seconds were left to win the game. Bam kept asking Rachel the same question. The black-haired woman found a breakthrough and jumped over the giant, attacking Rachel, which made Bam stand with Black March. Bam was hit in the head while protecting Rachel. The woman was about to finish Bam when the ground started shaking. A huge wave of energy sprouted from Bam and Rachel. Bam stood up and was about to finish the black-haired woman when the spirit of Black March appeared behind him. The spirit knocked down Bam. Yuri was still struggling to get on the test floor. Bam was taken to the infirmary, and the game ended without a winner since the crown was destroyed. The regulars were exhausted, so Lero Ro gave them a 3-day break. Lero Ro wanted to discuss something with Hansen Yu. He asked Yu the real reason behind the crown game. Yu told Lero Ro about Quant and his rush to make the test short. Lero Ro thought one of the secret team members had previously met one of his examinees. The rule stated that acquaintances couldn't participate in the same test, as decided by head-on. Yu told Lero Ro that their real goal was to expel those who had thoughts or powers that could harm the tower. Yu asked if any of his current examinees had such eligibility. Lero Ro recalled Bam but didn't say anything. Before leaving, Lero Ro asked Yu if he had ever seen someone use Shinsu without a contract with an administrator. Yu denied it but mentioned he had heard of such individuals, like Yurek Mazino, an irregular. Lero Ro was thinking about his conversation with Yu and the time when Bam lost control and turned into Shinsu. Bam certainly posed a threat to the tower. Lero Ro remembered that he was falling for a test administrator. Rachel visited Bam while he was sleeping and asked Kun for a favor. Rachel told Kun about Bam and how he tried to stop her when she decided to climb the tower. Kun wanted to hear what Rachel had come for in her request. Rachel wanted Kun not to tell Bam about her. She explained that she didn't take the crown because if they were together, they would become each other's weakness. Rak was worried about Bam but didn't show his concern openly. Anak took Black March to Shibisu because the Black March wouldn't obey or talk to women. When Shibisu tried to touch it, he got an electric shock. The Black March only talks to handsome men. As Anak was leaving, another girl appeared and asked if she knew who the true owner of Black March was. Anak wasn't interested. The girl told Anak that she was the only genius fisherman among the princesses of Jahad in the past 500 years to be granted one of the 13-month series. She warned Anak that if she forgot her place, she would end up dead. Anak attacked the girl when she called her an imposter. Kun decided not to let Rachel near Bam. When Bam woke up wanting to ask about Rachel, Kun dismissed it and told him they weren't disqualified. The next day, all the regulars gathered in a hall to select their positions for the 4th test, which would start after position selection. The fights in the tower are team battles. The positions included Fisherman, who fight at close quarters, Light Bearer, who illuminates the Dark Tower and distributes information, Spear Bearer, who fights from a distance, and Wave Controller, who uses Shinsu to support and direct the battle. Scout, who investigates enemy movements and assists the fishermen. During the position selection, Lero told Kun that Bam's position was Wave Controller. The training for Wave Controllers was delayed because their instructor was late. Kun lied to Bam, saying the girl he thought was Rachel wasn't her. Kun bought new clothes for Bam since his old ones were covered in blood. Bam went to Rachel's room but decided not to knock and leave. Kun planned to lie as much as possible to keep Bam away from Rachel until the end of the tower. He manipulated Bam to get stronger so that Rachel would want to climb the tower with him. The trainer instructed them to form contracts on each floor of the tower to use Shinsu. As Bam tried to form the contract, he found himself in front of a huge Godzilla-like monster. The monster warned Bam that the contract would be a shackle for him. Bam got exhausted from forming the contract, and the class was dismissed. After class, Ho introduced himself and Loro to Bam. When Ho returned to his room, he collapsed from exhaustion. Rak was also training and was shocked by the secret team's giant's aim. Hats and Shibisu entered Bam's room to request something. Bam, Hats, Shibisu, Serena, Loro, Kun, and Ho were eating lunch when a girl from the secret team joined them. She introduced herself as Endorsi and sat down. Hats and Shibisu, who were scouts, needed to make 9 friends as part of their test. Hats told Kun they had dissolved their team and cut ties with Anak because she disrespected the warrior code. Kun and Hats got into a heated argument, but Bam stopped them. As they talked to Endorsi about friendship, Anak appeared and revealed that Endorsi was a princess of Jahat. Bam looked at the Black March and Anak told him she wouldn't return it. Bam thought Endorsi and Yuri were siblings, but Kun explained that princesses are selected from capable families. Endorsi was training in the fisherman class. Suddenly, Anak appeared, but Endorsi pushed her back since Anak didn't have the black April in class. Kun looked up information about every regular and found out that Anak was selected as a princess after becoming a ranker. He discovered that the real Anak was dead and the current Anak was her orphan. Endorsi started toying with Anak, knocking out multiple fishermen in her way. Endorsi got serious and knocked down Anak, revealing she knew the lizard girl was Anak's orphan. Endorsi asked why she chose a path of misfortune. Anak revealed that her family was killed by one of the princesses, and she was here for revenge against anyone with the name Jahad. Jahad, the king of the tower and the first to ever climb it, built a vast kingdom. He granted power to certain women, but with a strict rule, they must never have Apple and the bees with men or bear children to prevent spreading their inherited power. Anok's orphan began attacking Endorsi using Shinsu, the mystical energy of the tower. Anok's mother had broken many rules and faced severe consequences for it. Anok's child, desperate and clinging to life, managed to grab Endorsi's hand and begged her for help. Endorsi, initially caught off guard, grabbed the child's leg and brought her down with her. At the bottom, Endorsi asked Anok's child to tell her more about Anok's mother. The child recalled her mother waving goodbye from a burning house, sending her off to safety. Her father, a cook, made delicious chicken pies. Meanwhile, Ho struggled to hit the target with Shinsu. Bam, making great progress, still lacked control. Loro helped Bam with a trick, which angered Ho, though he kept his jealousy hidden. Kun appeared and took Bam aside to inform him about the fight between Anok and Endorsi. Suddenly, Hats and Shibisu showed up. Shibisu, crying because he hadn't made enough friends, asked Bam for help. Bam wanted to help, but Kun reminded him of the test rules: let competitors fall. Bam didn't want to lose the friends he made, so Kun decided to help, showing his greatness. Endorsi was out of magical points due to her broken leg's medical fees and had no money for food. Hats and Bam arrived in her room with food, but first, she needed to befriend Shibisu and Hats. Endorsi had no choice but to accept, as the handsome Hats was offering help. Bam, Shibisu, and Hats then went to Anok's room with chicken pie, winning her over as well. During lunch with the others, Endorsi noticed Rachel and later confronted her in the restroom. Endorsi teased Rachel about Bam's cute face, but Rachel left without answering. Endorsi taunted Rachel, suggesting whatever she sought at the top of the tower must be more precious than Bam. Ho, seeking Bam's true identity, was crying in his room when a letter arrived, making him sweat. Meanwhile, Loro and Yu debated over the joint position test proposed by Quant, who was ready to examine it in Loro's place. Loro had a bad feeling about this test. The joint test was a game of tag involving the 28 regulars who passed. There were 2 teams, with Kun and Bam in different ones. The rules were simple: 2 hit players in the game of tag, one chosen by you and the other a fisherman from the team. Each it wore a badge. To win, they had to steal the badge from Yu's chosen it. The winning team would receive 100,000 points, and the badge thief would get 200,000 points. Use it was Quant. Kun, leading his team, set Shibisu as bait since he was a scout. Shibisu worried about Bam, who was weak and might fail. Suddenly, Quant appeared to take the bait, explaining to Kun that he hadn't learned much as a light bearer. Quant knocked down one of their light bearers, but then Anok, Kun, and Shibisu smirked and yelled, "Checkmate!" Anok, the team's it, attacked Quant with the green April. However, Quant, a ranker, started dragging Anik along with her green April. Quant was pissed for being taken lightly. As the battle raged, Ho's jealousy grew. He couldn't stand Bam's rapid progress and the attention he received. Ho was determined to uncover Bam's secret, believing it would give him an edge. The letter outside his room hinted at something big, something that made him sweat with anticipation and fear. During the test, the tension was palpable. Kun's strategy hinged on teamwork and cunning. He knew Quant was formidable, but he believed in his team's potential. As Anik engaged Quant, Kun coordinated with the others to outmaneuver the ranker. The stakes were high, failure wasn't an option. Dorsey, despite her earlier conflicts, found herself rooting for her new friends. She realized the value of their camaraderie and the strength it brought. Her thoughts drifted back to Rachel. What was she seeking at the top of the tower? Why did she avoid Bam? These questions gnawed at her, but there was no time to dwell. The battle demanded her full attention. Quant, though powerful, was caught off guard by the regulars' coordinated effort. Anik's green April was a formidable weapon, and with Kun's strategic mind, they managed to corner him. But Quant wasn't easily defeated. His experience as a ranker gave him an edge, and he quickly adapted to their tactics. In the end, it came down to a final, desperate push. Bam, despite his inexperience, played a crucial role. His determination and unexpected resourcefulness surprised everyone, including himself. With Kun's guidance and the team's support, they managed to snatch the badge from Quant, securing their victory. The celebration was bittersweet. They had won the test, but the challenges ahead were daunting. Quant's anger was the reason Laurel thought it would be bad to let him examine the test. Even against weak opponents, Quant uses his full strength to crush them. The amount of Shinsu that Quant can use inside the tag arena is limited, making it likely they won't continue the test. Quant asks them what comes after their failed plan. Plan B is activated, and Shibisu and Anik start running. Quant decides to give them a time advantage, counting to 111 to give them a little edge. One team member tells Dorsey that their team is full of trash. Dorsey stands up and sits beside Bam, who asks her about Michelle Light. The other team watches the test on monitors. Anik uses the elevator, and once she crosses the bridge, they will win. It will take at least 10 minutes for Anik to reach the bridge. Quant has no choice but to take the stairs, so Kun has already ordered his men to watch the stairs. Quant starts climbing the stairs, using Shinsu and his speed to knock down 2 regulars. The other regulars fail to land an attack on him and get knocked down one by one. Anik starts running towards the bridge, and the team defending the stairs has been defeated. There it will reach the top of the stairs soon. Shibisu tells Kun to call Loro, but he is asleep on the first floor. Loro will eventually pass since his stats are high. Loro thinks Tima will lose since Quant has learned which exit Anik will choose and will catch her in no time. Shibisu brags about his strength when Quant appears behind them and knocks him down without mercy. Quant reaches the bridge and runs into Kun, who tells Quant that Anik has just jumped down from the bridge to use the lower exit. Quant laughs at him, saying Anik will die after jumping from such height. Kun smirks, knowing Anik is a princess of Jahad. Kun tries to deceive Quant, but a ranker isn't that stupid. Quant grabs Kun's hand and jumps down. Kun suddenly frees his hand and grabs green April, with the other end in Anik's hand. Anik starts rising towards the bridge. As Anik reaches the top, she starts running towards the exit. Loro is surprised by Team A's comeback, but Yu interrupts him and tells him to watch. As Anik is about to reach the exit, Quant suddenly appears and snatches the IT badge from her without her noticing. Tima has lost, and Kun blames himself for their loss. Another team member consoles Kun. It turns out Kun and Loro helped Quant reach the top, betraying their team. Kun did this to help Bam, having made a deal with Quant. Team B starts fighting over the leader position, but Dorsey jumps in to stop them and explains her plan. Dorsey wants all fishermen to move together. Only Hats understands the true plan, while the others keep mocking Dorsey as they follow the plan. Ho and Serena are on the ground floor. Serena asks Ho if he is sure he can climb the tower because she has lost hope and can't kill the person she has come to like. Serena's friends were killed by a ranker when they were robbing some ship, which was when Head-On summoned her to the tower. Ho, however, has no emotions and wants to climb the tower. Suddenly, Dorsey knocks down one of her own teammates. Dorsey tells a story about a little girl who arrived at the home of a fallen noble family, one of the least significant of the 10 families. In their quest to produce a princess of Jahad, the family adopted talented girls and chose the best among them, feeding them based on their performances. Dorsey's plan was to gather all the fishermen in one place and take out all of Team B's fishermen. Only 4 out of 6 fishermen could pass the position test. Dorsey tells Bam to go where Rachel is while 2 regulars try to sneak attack her. Hats orders the spear bearers to attack the ranker from the shadows, but the ranker is too fast and knocks the sword from Hats' hand. Bam asks Dorsey why she is doing this. Dorsey replies that they are just a team in this test. but they are competing for positions individually. Dorsey gets furious at Bam's naive view, explaining that one can't get what they want until they do whatever it takes. Suddenly, one of the knockdown regulars gets up and launches a charged attack. Hats struggles against Quant and realizes he has to do something while Quant is playing around. Hats hides in the shadows and attacks from behind, but Quant easily dodges the attack and pins Hats to the wall. Hats grabs Quant's arm with a grip that lets none escape. Hats orders the spear bearers to attack, but they are nowhere to be seen, having been hunted by Quant for being traitors. Bam is knocked down by the ignition attack. Ho takes Rachel hostage, planning to kill her to drive Bam out of the test. Bam stands up, refusing to betray his team, but Dorsey tells him it's not what Rachel wants. Bam walks towards Rachel while Dorsey faces two injured regulars. Bam tries to connect with Rachel but fails. Ho holds Rachel when Quant appears behind him, scaring Ho. Bam arrives and is confused to see Ho holding Rachel hostage. Ho tells Bam to fight Quant or he will kill Rachel. Quant freezes Bam's body and tells him how to defeat Ho with the same technique. Quant then leaves to chase the it. Rachel gives Bam an opening but gets stabbed in the back. Bam uses the technique to freeze Ho and takes the bleeding Rachel. The secret team's giant has disappeared from his location. Ho starts crying because his kind was massacred. He then stabs himself. Bam is frustrated when Dorsey appears behind them to capture Quant. Serena slaps Dorsey for being a traitor with no remorse. Dorsey tells Bam that to protect the one she wants to climb the tower with, she just removed some obstacles. She advises Bam to choose his own way to protect his precious one. Dorsey and Quant start fighting, with Bam helping Dorsey using the technique Quant taught. Serena sits by Ho's body, lamenting how unfair the world is. Quant gets serious and snatches Dorsey's badge. Dorsey walks towards Quant, puts her head on his shoulder, and suddenly laughs. The thing Quant stole were Dorsey's red panties, and now Dorsey has Quant's badge. The test is over. Team B wins the test, shocking Team A. Shibisu and Dorsey were talking about Bam and Rachel. Dorsey avoided using Rachel's maiden name since everyone now knew that Rachel was the girl Bam was chasing. Kun stood up and left, knowing from the start that only two wave controllers would pass the test. Karen had told Kun not to worry about her but about Ho, whose jealousy would drive him mad. That's why Kun removed Ho from the list. Kun's strategy was perfect all along. He was the one who placed the letter and told Quant to keep an eye on Ho. The door knocked hard, and when Kun opened it, there was a child gator in front of him. Kun mistook him for Rak's child, but it was actually Rak himself, reduced in size by Yu. Rak demanded Kun use his bag to return him to his original size, but Kun's bag couldn't do that. Rak was furious when Kun told him Bam wouldn't advance to the next level. Rak wanted Bam to climb the tower. Suddenly, Bam entered the room and informed them about Rachel's condition. Rachel couldn't walk due to deep wounds, so Bam decided to carry her on his back to climb the tower. Bam asked for his team's help. Kun, seeing himself in Bam, was more than happy to assist. Rak, Bam, and the others placed flowers on Ho's grave, giving him a proper send-off. Bam was walking with Rachel when she started crying, feeling guilty for abandoning him. Rachel told Bam he could abandon her too, but Bam said she was his only friend who came to see him from the other side. Bam and Rachel returned to find Hats, Serena, and Shibisu drunk with wine. Everyone fell asleep except Shibisu and Serena. Serena told Shibisu about her life full of regrets and left with her things, forfeiting the tournament. Yu confronted Bam's teacher, who was pretending to be Yuga but was actually Ren from the Royal Enforcement Division. And well, since his secret was out, Ren attacked Yu basically. Ren used his pet to attack Yu, but Yu slashed it into pieces without moving. Yu had no intention of fighting Ren since their goals were the same. Ren was there to recover the Black March and Green April and eliminate Anak Jahad. Yu decided to leave it at that and left for now. Kun told Loro that the letter given to Ho came from someone in administration who knew Ho and Rachel would be on the same team. Only Yu knew about that, making Loro more suspicious. The results for the position selection test were announced. Yoru, Kun, and Rak passed the test. One regular opposed the results, and Yu definitely showed his place. Rachel was also disqualified, but Kun opposed the results and asked Yu to let Rachel take the tests because his friend wanted that. However, Yu mocked Kun for making friends and told him it was forbidden for injured people to take the test. Kun placed a bet with Yu to let him take the administrator's test so he could let Rachel take the test. Kun and Loro were shocked when Yu told them only an irregular could take the administrator's test. Bam jumped in and revealed he was an irregular, shocking everyone. You took Bam to the test hall for the administrator's test. The others talked about Bam being an irregular. Loro told them they could help Bam pass the test, earning the right to climb the tower by the shortest and quickest route, but would be branded as accomplices of an irregular. Kun decided not to help since Bam was an irregular. Hats and Rak opposed Kun for not helping his friend. Dorsey and Anak realized Kun was provoking others to help Bam. Bam stood before the giant creature he had seen during his contract forging. He was ready to face the challenge, determined to prove himself and protect Rachel. Bam emerged from the room and informed you that the administrator had approved Rachel's participation in the test alongside him. The rest was up to you. The final test began, featuring Bam and Rachel in an underwater hunt. They would become fish hunted by net dolphins, who hunt once a day. The queen dolphin uses shinsu to catch underwater fish. Bam's group would enter a bubble made of shinsu, and if the queen dolphin swallowed them and spat them onto dry land, they would pass the test. However, barnacle goblins use giant wet worms to steal fish from the dolphin's net. If Bam's group was eaten by the worms, they would fail. The striped earth pigs, enemies of the barnacle goblins and worms, scared the dolphins. They had to ensure the dolphins could hunt freely and eat Bam's bubble. The final threat was the bull, a ferocious creature that even rankers feared, consuming everything that moved. Kun started his plan by fortifying the land. Hatz's group watched the pigs and worms, Rak's group would monitor the worms on the surface, and Shibisu's group would watch out for pigs attacking the dolphins. Laura was suspicious of how you had arranged everything in such a short time. Meanwhile, Yuri and her group were trying to reach the test area. The dolphin entered the water. Hatz suddenly informed Kun that Kancho's group had vanished, leaving only blood on the ground. The bull then appeared before Shibisu, holding deed in its mouth, half-eaten. Rachel talked to Bam about their past, reminiscing about the time they were together. The bull was distracted by a dolphin and started walking towards it when Shibisu attacked it with a dagger. The bull chased Shibisu and was about to eat him when Dorsey and Anak appeared to save him. Anak and Dorsey made a bet. If Dorsey defeated the bull in her 5-minute turn, she would get both Black March and Green April. If Anak won, Dorsey would be her servant for life. Rak was getting bored when Hatz signaled that the goblins were on the move. Kun instructed Rak to follow his orders. The dolphin's net began forming, but Rachel was scared since they were about to be eaten by a monster. Dorsey knocked down the bull, but it got up again and grabbed her with a tentacle. She quickly freed herself, and the bull started fleeing with Anak and Dorsey chasing it. Ren waited for Anak while feasting on pizza. Neri used her divine pet fish, which used sonar to find an underground path. Kun asked Neri if an anima could control any animal, such as the bull. Neri replied that not at her level, but probably a ranker could. Dorsey was searching for Anak when the bull attacked her. This bull was stronger than before and nearly knocked her down. Ren appeared behind Anak and introduced himself, showing her the necklace she gave her mother. Anak, enraged, pulled out Green April. Kun told Rak not to attack and wait. Anak attacked Ren but was overpowered as he kept pulling out tricks. Suddenly, Ren pierced Anak's body. The goblins were alerted and started attacking Rak, Paracole, and Hatz. Ren took Green April and mocked Anak for wasting her mother's death. Suddenly, the bull with Dorsey appeared. Ren told Anak that it was all part of the plan with you from the beginning. Ren handed over Green April to Dorsey to finish off the traitor and enemy of Jahat. Bam's hand suddenly started glowing while Ren enjoyed the scene before him. Dorsey picked up Green April and started walking towards Anak. Shibisu was searching for them when he felt a terrifying presence behind him. It was Yuri. Dorsey offered her hand to Anak, who was healing herself. Dorsey gave Anak Green April and took Black March for herself. They attacked Ren together, landing one of their attacks. Meanwhile, Rak faced the goblins and worms, refusing to run. He leapt between them, fighting fiercely. Ren knocked down Dorsey and Anak and began pressing Anak's wound when Yuri appeared out of nowhere. Seeing her swords on the ground, Yuri formally addressed Ren, who explained he was ordered to retrieve the swords. Yuri told Ren to leave, saying she would retrieve them herself. Loro helped Rak and the others by levitating goblins into the air. Ren remained on the scene while Shibisu assisted Anak. Yuri grew serious and gave Ren a death stare. Ren mocked Yuri and attacked her, but she didn't flinch and effortlessly ended Ren's pet with one finger, pushing Ren far away. Suddenly, striped pigs emerged from the worms' mouths, shocking everyone. The goblins and pigs started fighting each other. This was all part of Kun's plan to collapse the underground path and lead the pigs to the goblins. Laura was sleeping when someone who looked like Kun approached him. The lookalike had hacked the test director's monitors and stopped the streaming. Yuri grew bored of playing with Ren. You confronted Evan and the giant with him, offering them coffee and allowing Yuri to run freely in the test. Evan ordered Curtin to get involved and use his black ball to communicate with Yuri, telling her she could kill Ren but must not help Anak's daughter. Yuri ordered Curtin to deal with Ren and stepped back. Evankel spoke with Kun, asking if he was climbing the tower for Maria, to which Kun replied no. Evankel tried to provoke Kun to attack him. Before dying, Ren told Yuri Yuri, it was pointless to look for Bam now since he had sent the bull to kill Rachel and Bam. The bull began attacking the bubble. Yuri, furious, was about to crush the test when Anik stepped in to stop her. Bam struggled against the bull's continuous attacks. Suddenly, Bam's shinsu glowed as the bull swallowed him. The bull started acting strangely and then exploded into bits. Bam fell back into Rachel's lap. Before leaving, Yuri snatched green April from Anik, telling her to learn to use it properly first. She handed Shibisu a brooch, instructing him to give it to Bam and tell him to use it on the 77th floor. Suddenly, Evan saw a navigator passing by and was confused. In a shocking twist, Rachel stood up and pushed Bam out of the bubble. I knew her ass was from the streets the minute I laid eyes on her. While Bam was falling into the depths of the ocean, Rachel breathed heavily, thinking back to when Head-On gave her a chance. When the doors opened, Rachel thought she was summoned, but Head-On denied that the tower had called her. Rachel begged Head-On for a chance and Head-On decided to have her useless ass take the same test Bam took. Rachel opposed such a cruel test, but Head-On put her in her place. He told Rachel to witness the birth of a savior, indicating Bam's arrival. Sensing the ugliness inside Rachel, Head-On revealed that she wanted to be the star, the exceptional one. Rachel was desperate to climb the tower at any cost. Head-On gave Rachel a special test. If she could end Bam's life, she could climb the tower. Rachel had to kill Bam herself. Head-On provided her with a bodyguard, the gatekeeper of hell. Rachel wanted someone else to kill Bam, aligning with Yu's plan to make Bam forfeit the crown. But Rachel couldn't kill Bam, no matter how hard she tried. She was sick of hearing about Bam all the time, feeling that the world revolved around him. Intentionally, Rachel got herself stabbed by Ho, waiting for that moment all along. She decided to give up everything to achieve everything. Rachel's jealousy consumed her, turning her dark and muddy. Bam's words had no effect on her. Bam was becoming the star Rachel dreamed of being. She betrayed Bam because he had what she lacked. When Rak and Kun asked Rachel about Bam, she lied, saying they were attacked by a bull. The navigator later congratulated Rachel in her room for executing the perfect plan. Loro told Kun they didn't find Bam's body in the test area, thinking Bam was eaten by fishes. Everyone passed the test, but at what cost? Rak screamed his guts out while Loro, more furious, confronted Yu. Yu told Loro it was all Rachel's decision. Everyone decided to take Rachel to the top of the tower to honor Bam's memory. Kun planned to change the entire tower while Rachel laughed like a maniac. Loro quit as a test administrator and Quant was fired. Loro planned to climb the tower in search of the truth. Everyone believed Bam was dead, but he was alive, protected by the navigator's Shinsu, and Yu took everyone to climb the tower. Bam opened his eyes and saw the navigator in front of him. He asked what had happened. Still concerned about Rachel, the navigator told Bam that Rachel had pushed him down. The navigator told Bam he could become the savior or the god of the tower since he had the key to knowing everything. The navigator urged Bam to climb the tower to find his answers. Resolute, Bam decided to climb the tower. As Bam started his new journey, he reflected on everything that had happened. Rachel's betrayal stung, but it also fueled his determination. He realized that the tower was filled with secrets and challenges that he had to face head-on. The betrayal opened his eyes to the harsh realities of the tower and the people within it. Meanwhile, Kun's mind raced with plans to revolutionize the tower. He was determined to bring justice and uncover the truth behind Bam's fall. Rak, driven by anger and sorrow, pledged to support Kun in his mission. The bond between the remaining friends grew stronger as they prepared for the climb ahead. Rachel, on the other hand, reveled in her perceived victory. She believed she had eliminated her greatest threat and could now pursue her pathetic dream of reaching the top. However, the darkness within her continued to grow, clouding her judgment and isolating her from the others. As the group ascended, tensions rose. You observed the dynamics among the regulars, noting the shifting alliances and growing suspicions. He knew that the tower's trials would only get more challenging, testing their resolve and pushing them to their limits. In the shadows, Loro gathered information, determined to expose the truth behind the tower's mysteries. His departure as a test administrator allowed him to move more freely, seeking allies and unraveling the web of deception. Bam, now more aware and resolute, faced the tower's challenges with renewed vigor. Guided by the navigator's words, he sought to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within the tower's depths. His journey was no longer just about survival, it was about understanding his purpose and the true nature of the tower. Each step brought them closer to the answers they sought and the destinies they were meant to fulfill.